So unit 3, quality assurance in fabrics and accessories, the lesson number 2. In lesson number 2, we will cover the types of defects in the fabric. Normally types of defects in the fabric are classified under 3 categories: major, minor and critical defects. And then we will see fabric inspection, and there are 4 different types of inspections available, but for our practical purpose we will take 4-point and the 10-point system of inspection of the fabric. Now when we will talk about the defects in the fabric, what is the role of such defects in the fabric quality, that we must understand. Now the defects are not desirable for the fabric, but it is obvious that defects will be generated, and such kind of defects will be inspected while the fabric inspection is on. Now how to eliminate such kind of defects, or how to classify such kind of defects in a proper way, so that the minimum loss will be there in the fabric during the time of inspection. So classification of the defects, that's why is very important. Which defects, from the user's point of view, which defect is important; from the regulation point of view, which defects cannot be acceptable; from sales point of view, which defect can be acceptable, which defect cannot be acceptable. So such kind of phenomena when it is there, so such situation has forced us to create, the technologist, different defects or classification of different defects under the major, minor and the critical defect category. And these defects are very important to classify, to understand, because based on that the shipment of the fabric or the particular cutting or the next operation of the fabric in the garmenting stage, so important decision will be taken. So those defects are covered here. Different defects, what are the different categories of defects are there in the critical defect category. Then we will see the major defects category, what are the defects are available, which defects can be not acceptable from inspection point of view, or this should be rejected. Minor defects, which are the different defect category coming under that. Then we will see the different woven fabric defect, what are the defects coming from the woven fabric. Then we will see different defects which are coming during the knitting operation, what are the names of such defects we will see. And ultimately we will see the fabric inspection procedure, how the penalty points are getting distributed when different defects are there, how it is getting classified in the warp way or weft way, or both together, how it is getting classified, and then what is the acceptance or the rejection criteria based on the total penalty points. So these are the different areas of interest of today's lesson: the type of defects, major and minor faults, fabric inspection systems, 4 and 10-point. So first we go into the critical defect category. What are the critical defects and how we are classifying this is a critical defect? Now any defect which is there in the fabric which is hazardous, or it creates some unsafe condition, that is coming under this category of critical defect. Then second one, which is affecting the legal regulations. So those are forming the critical defect category. Now if we see the examples of the critical defect, one of important category is the care label. Now suppose a garment is there, so that garment one care label has been given, but that care label is not appropriate. Later on it has been investigated and found the care label is not appropriate. Suppose a garment can be washed at 60 degrees centigrade and wash instruction has been given at 30 degrees centigrade. So in such kind of cases the care label needs to be changed, because the care label, if it doesn't suit the requirement of the fabric, we have to reject that particular care label. So care label is not only affecting the legal regulation part, but also it creates the unsafe condition. That's why it becomes a critical defect, and there is no tolerance of such defect in the AQL also, that accepted quality level. So if there is any critical defect, the total lot will be rejected. So again the UR-King should be there in the full lot. Now second important point is the critical defect category is the construction. Now construction, the main important thing is that use of the lock stitch in a different type of children's garment. So such kind of things also become a legal issue. Then third important category is the sharp points or edges found in the children garment. This is an important area where the safety part of children's garment comes into the play. So it is some sort of hazardous condition it creates due to these safety regulations if there are any sharp points there in the garment, or if there are certain kinds of toys are there. So there some of the parts have been broken, or in the garment some portion of that particular accessories it is broken and forming some sort of edges. So such kind of edges should not be there, sharp point should not be there in such kind of garment. If it is there, then that garment critical defect it will be categorized and that garment cannot be shipped. Now fourth important category and very important category in this particular critical defect criteria is the fiber content level. Now suppose a garment has been given 100% cotton as a kind of fiber content level, but actually if it is found that 100% cotton is not there, it is 95% cotton and 5% viscose, then it is a big problem for shipment. So such kind of shipment should not be there, because duty regulations and all these things, status of that particular garment will be regulated, and different customs formalities are to be done there. So they are creating the legal regulations kind of thing, this fiber content level. So that is a critical defect category, that's why it is categorized as a critical defect. Then the drawstring, use of the drawstring is again very important. The drawstring in the children garment should not be used at all. So such kind of drawstrings, if it is used in a young children garment, so we have to do certain restriction, or we have to follow some sort of legal regulations are there. So drawstring regulations, if it is not following, then it will become a critical defect. So that is become a hazardous point of view also, and legal aspects point of view also it is important, because such kind of drawstrings are regulated by certain laws in both US and Europe. Now sixth important criteria in the critical defect category is again the construction parameter. Like if any embellishment have been given or the embroideries are there, so there should be a proper backing material. So 0 to 5 toddler, so that kind of backing material should be accompanied with the garment in that particular area of the children garment, embellishments or any kind of embroidery. So these are the different categories of critical defect, and those critical defects has happened because it is becoming some sort of health issues, or it is becoming some sort of hazardous unsafe condition, or it is becoming a legal issue. So such kind of scenario, the defects are not at all acceptable, and different criteria of such defects we have seen under this critical defect category. Now we will see the major defect category. What do you mean by the major defects, and what are the different defects coming under this category? Now major defects, when you are talking, this will reduce the usability. If there are any major defect is there in a particular garment and the fabric, so it will reduce the use of the particular product, and also if usability is affected, the sales value also of that particular garment will be affected. So based on those two parameters, the sales value and the usability point of view, we cannot use that, so reduce the usability. So such kind of cases, the major defects is getting created. Now question is that what are the different types of major defects will be acceptable to us, and what is the limit of that one, that we have already seen in the AQL level when you have seen that particular lesson plan on AQL. Now major defect category, if you try to see, the first category of the major defect comes is the fabric damage. So fabric is getting damaged due to different reasons. So those kind of fabric damage can create the needle cut, that is one of the major area of concern. Fabric damage can be done through different holes have been created at different portion of the fabric, so that will create the fabric damage category. Second important category in the major defects is the poor construction. What type of seam has been used there, open seam or broken stitches, such kind of thing if it is there, so that will create the major defect, because use point of view also there are getting the restriction, so reduce the usability. So that will appropriately affecting here. Now, country of origin. If country of origin is properly not mentioned there, so that also becoming a major category. So major category of defect. Then fourth important category is the construction category again, that is the zipper guard missing, suppose in any of the garment. So that becomes a particular major defect category. 4 to 16, 4 to 18, such kind of people are affected age group. Then fifth category of such kind of defect is the hand tag conflict with the sewn in level. So whatever hand tag is given in the garment and what are the levels have been given in the garment, sewn in level, so that if it doesn't matches, sometimes it doesn't match, so both are different. So such kind of cases it becomes a legal issue sometimes, and also it is a usability point of view is very important. And then last one which is coming under this category is the shape distortion. Suppose what happens that after the washing of that particular garment, the garment twisting takes place. This happens especially for the knitted garment, and where the side seam twisting happens after the garment washing, and then it becomes a defect called spirality. So that kind of defect, if it is too much in the garment, there is a tolerance limit. If it exceeds the tolerance, then it becomes usability point of view that cannot be used, and so that it becomes a major defect. So we have seen so far that two categories of defect, critical defect and the major defect. Now we will see the third category of defect, which is called as the minor defect. So what are the different minor defects and how it is related to that, and what are the important features of that minor defect? Now, minor defect, when you are talking, it is unlikely to reduce the use. We can use that product, okay, and may influence the sale value also little bit. So such kind of defects are minor defects, and minor defects can be allowed also some certain time and with a certain tolerance. Now, what are the different types of minor defects available here in our fabric or the apparel industry? Number one is the fabric quality, like any kind of stain, if it is there, oil stain is there, or certain portion of the fabric, there is some discoloration of the fabric due to certain reasons. So those kind of small areas, can cause a little bit of your use point of view, little bit of important, and so it becomes a defect, minor defect, but it can still be usable, and it can be usable and sellable both. Now, second category defect is the labeling conflict with PO. So purchase order, whatever is there, so there and the PO, what is there in the particular garment, if there is a conflict between the labeling, that also becoming a minor defects. Third category of defect is the fabric quality, that is then different kind of dyeing has been done. So that kind of dyeing, if it is not properly done, so it is becoming a quality issue. So shade variations is one of the major example of that. So it becomes a little bit of minor issue in the garment. The fourth category defect is the handle. Suppose some finishing has been used, or certain processes has been used, and certain processes exceeded the time duration what was allotted from that process. So that particular garment or the fabric becomes a little bit of stiffer handle. So that becomes a minor fault. Now, fifth category of defect is the misprint kind of thing, or any kind of printing defects, smaller printing defects, that will create the fifth category of defect as a minor defect. And sixth category of defect again is the discoloration. If a small part of the garment is discolored, so that particular area is becoming the minor defect category. So we have seen now there are three categories of defects which are available here: critical, major and minor. What are the important features of the critical defect? What are the important features of the major defect? And what are the essential features of the minor defects? Those we have seen in this defects category. Now we will try to see different defects which can arise in the woven fabric. So we call it as a woven fabric defects. Now what are the defects, different types of woven defects? There are enormous amount of defects are available, but we will have restricted ourselves some sort of important defects which we should remember, and we should experience that defect and try to analyze the cause and remedial measures of such defect. So one of such category of woven fabric defect is the bad selvage. So selvage area, if we inspect in certain garments, so we can easily understand that there is some distorted selvage kind of thing. So such kind of things, if it is happen in weaving, it is a weaving defect. So it is becoming a woven fabric defect. So that is called the bad selvage. Second category of such woven fabric defect is the broken end. So this is again due to the weaving. So broken end can be generated. So that becomes easily visible when inspection is carried out in the garment. Third important category of defects is the double end in the garment. This is again the similar reason. The weaving department, they have to be careful. Mispeak. So during the insertion of the weft, there is some mispeak is there. So that becomes another defect in the woven fabric. Then the weft bar can be created. Little bit of variation of the yarn count also, or ends the peaks per inch, there is a variation. So it creates the weft bar kind of situation. Then the ball formation, this is mainly due to the yarn. This kind of defect may arise. Then hole in the garment, that can be reed mark in the garment due to the weaving. So that becomes a weaving fabric defect. Then it can happen that there are certain kinds of thick and thin places in the particular fabric. That is also possible. This is also a little bit of variation in the yarn, thickness of the yarn at certain places, that can be. And last category of defect, important category, is the loose weft. This is again due to the weft insertion in the weaving. So these are we have seen the 10 different woven fabric defects, and most of the defects are coming out from the weaving department or the yarn related defects. Now we will see different types of knitting defects. What are the different kinds of knitting defects we experience in our day-to-day production of knitted fabrics? So what are those defects? Number one is the loop mark. Actually in knitting, lot of loops are getting generated, like a warp and weft. In case of weaving, loops are getting generated, and those loops are creating some mark. If there is a proper interlacement is not there, so loops will get generated, and that will create the loop mark. Now second category of such defect is the oil mark. Oil mark can come from the knitting oil. So that oil, if it drops on the knitted fabric during the knitting operation, that will create the oil spot in the fabric. Third category of defect, knitted fabric defect, is the hole. So if there is any needle breakage, or due to needle some fabric is getting, some yarn is broken, so there it will cause a particular defect, that is the hole of the fabric. Fourth category defect is the lycra out. That means that particular fabric, lycra has been used, but during the time of inspection it has been seen that particular lycra is not there in the fabric. So lycra has been broken, and that creates a defect. So that is becoming a knitted fabric defect. Fifth category of defect, knitted fabric defect, if we try to see, is often happen in the department if proper housekeeping, cleaning is not there. That is the yarn contamination. So we will get in the knitted fabric the little bit of contamination of the yarn. Sixth category of defect is the needle break, that we will always see in the fabric. It is a common defect. Then yarn missing is also another defect in the knitting. Skew is the defect also in the knitting, that different type of angle it may form in the skewing. Then slitting fault, this is coming when this knitted fabric is going into the dyeing operation, and the tubular form of the fabric is cut to make it a open width. So there the slitting fault may come. And last category of important defect category of this knitted fabric is the crease mark. So crease mark can be generated during the time of dyeing, due to the loading of the machine or due to the machine fault in the dyeing machines. So such kind of defects are there in the knitted fabric. So we have seen the list of the defect in particularly in the woven area and also the knitting area. Now we will see the two different types of inspection, fabric inspection category. So first category of inspection, what we will see is the 10-point inspection, and then we will see the 4-point inspection. Now basic purpose of inspection is to give the quality fabric to the next department, so that the faults and all these things are specified, and penalty points are given to the fabric, and a decision has been given to the next department whether the fabric roll is rejected or it has been accepted based on the different criterias are there in the different systems. Based on that, the decision is taken. So we will see first the 10-point system in the fabric inspection. Now here the important features of the 10-point inspection is that warp defects and the wave defects are classified differently. Actually here what happens, the defects, if it is found in a particular lengthwise direction or if it is found in the widthwise direction, those kind of particular defects are measured and penalty points are assigned to it. There are standards are available that what type of defects or how much length of the defect or how much width of the defect will assign how many defective points into that, or the penalty points. Like for example, in the warp direction in the 10-point system, like 10 to 36 inch, in that category, if such defects are there within that category 10 to 36 inch, then we will assign a penalty point of 10. Similarly, 5 to 10 inch, if it is there, then 5 points, 1 to 5 inch 3, and up to 1 inch the penalty point will be 1. So this is the category of defects as per the length of the particular fault that defects are getting classified and different penalty points have been given. Similarly, for the weft also such kind of classification is there, like a full width of the particular fabric. If there is defect, then full width of the fabric will be assigned a penalty point of 10. Now if half of the width, 5 inch to the half of the width, if it is there, then 5. Then 1 to 5 inch, there will be 3, and up to 1 inch 1. So you can see that warp and weft, the defects or the penalty points have been assigned differently. Different length and different width has been given different penalty points here. Now when you will accept them and when you will reject, that is the important question here. Now total penalty points, what we have to calculate, and if this total penalty points is less than the total yardage of the fabric, then we will classify the particular roll or the fabric roll as a first quality or first grade roll, and if total penalty points exceed the total yardage, then we will give as a kind of second grade quality. So this is the two ways of accepting and rejecting a particular lot. Now important features of this particular 10-point inspection system is that there are differences, point differences in the warp and the weft direction. Now last category of important points, if we try to analyze in the 10-point category, is the it is difficult in practical usage. Why? Because the difficulty is there in the warp and weft. It is very difficult to classify warp and weft separately, and different penalty points are given there. So practical usage point of view, the 10-point inspection system is not practically usable, and that's why most of the factories, they switch over to the 4-point inspection system. Now we will see a little bit about important features of a 4-point inspection system which is followed throughout the world for the fabric inspection. Now here important points of this particular category is that whether it is a warp and weft, but the classification of the defects will be done in a single way. For example, up to 3 inch, if there is a defect, we assigned a point of 1. Maximum point is 4. So up to 3 inch, if any defect is there, whether lengthwise or widthwise, will be assigned a penalty point of 1. Now 3 to 6 inch, if it is there, then penalty point will be assigned as 2. Similarly 6 to 9 inch, if it is there, we will assign a penalty point of 3. And over 9 inch, if anything is there, then we will assign penalty point 4. And important thing of this particular assignment of the penalty point is that not more than 4 penalty points will be assigned to a single defect. That means in a particular area, if there are more than one defects are also there, but you can assign only 4 points to that. Not single defects will be analyzed differently and given different points. Now holes, if it is 1 inch or less, will be given 2 penalty point, and also over 1 inch will give a penalty point of 4. So in this fashion, the defects are classified and penalty points are given to it. So length and width are both same way, it is given the penalty point. Here one important features of the 4-point system is also there, that only major defects are here considered while we are doing these penalty points. Minor defects are not considered at all. No penalty points are given to the minor defects category because it is not coming under the range of such classification, that different length measurement or the width measurement. Now here, how again question comes, how we will accept or reject a lot based on this 4-point inspection system. Now the penalty points, when you are assigning to that, so how this is getting converted, or how these points are getting converted into the actual acceptance or rejection limit. Now defects which are coming per 100 square yard, okay, so that is, if it is more than 40, so that penalty point, if it is more than 40, that is defect per 100 square yard, then we will reject the lot, and if it is less than 40, we will accept the lot. So in that fashion, such kind of classification is there, but again this is a normal category. This again varies from buyer to buyer, and formula of such kind of 4-point system is total points what is assigned there into 3600 divided by fabric width into total yards inspected. So that becomes the total penalty points. So many of the buyers, they, for the role, they accept only 20 penalty points. So 20 penalty points, if total 20 penalty points is there, they will accept the lot. If it is more than 25, they will accept it under consideration. So it depends upon buyer to buyer, this kind of inspection system or the penalty point system and the decision making process. So in the unit 3, quality assurance in fabric and accessories, when you are going into the lesson 2, we have seen different types of defects. That we have seen the major and minor faults, how they are classified, and what are the important features of the critical defect, what are the important features of the major and minor defects, and how and what are the categories of defects coming under those particular area, that we have seen. Then we have seen that different woven fabrics and knitted fabric defects, what are the different areas of concern in the woven fabric and the knitted fabric. And last part of this particular lesson, we have seen the fabric inspection procedure. We have seen that there are two important fabric inspection procedure. One is a 10-point system of inspection, another is the 4-point system of inspection. But from practical usage point of view, 10-point inspection system is not acceptable, and 4-point inspection system is acceptable because of the reason that 10-point inspection system is not practically feasible, because warp and weft both are given the different kind of penalty point system. But whereas in the 4-point system, the warp and weft are given the similar way, the penalty points are assigned there. And also there are some objectivity is associated also with the 4-point system. Some particular formula is there. With that formula, one can total penalty points one can easily calculate from by using a particular empirical formula. And here a major defect, practical point of view, this is also very acceptable. Major defects are counted here, minor defects are not counted. So different particular areas of 4-point system are the important features of 4-point system if we consider. So it is much better, practical usage point of view is much better than the 10-point system. So this is the lesson 2, where we have discussed about the different defects and also different inspection system.